So we're here today with my dear friend Mary Haskett, Dr. Mary Haskett, professor at NC State, who I've known for many years. And today we're going to talk about the program HOST.
So HOST stands for Housing Options for Students Today. And it is a program focused on trying to address college student homelessness. And we match students who are struggling with housing with community members who are volunteers and open space in their homes for our students. So we've been operating for a little more than a year. Mm-hmm. We also support students financially. If a host home is not the best option for them, we have some funds from Wake County that we can use to help them stay in their current housing or move into stable housing. Mm-hmm. And since August of last year, we've served 33 students so far.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
In all my 20-some years as a speech therapist and working with a lot of those children who are experiencing homelessness and the work that I've done alongside of you, I've never once thought about college students and homelessness. It's sort of embarrassing to me that I have two children in college, one at State, one at UNC. It never dawned on me until you started talking about it that a college student might experience homelessness. So what does that student look like? Because many of my friends even will say, what do you mean a college student is homeless? So can you tell us a little bit about what that experience is like?
Absolutely. And I'll first say I was unaware too. I think most of us don't think about college students struggling with housing. I had students working in some local shelters with me because I do work in family homelessness. And the students' responsibility was to work with the children while my graduate students were working with the parents in the shelters. One day, one of my undergrads didn't show up. And the kids at the shelters, really looked forward to interacting with the college students. And so I was a little irritated at him. And started making phone calls and sending emails and trying to find a student. He appeared in my office a couple of weeks later and said he had been living in his car. While he was working in the shelters with the kids at the shelters, he was also experiencing homelessness. And so I had the forehead slap, right under my nose. The students that I've been working with for almost 30 years were struggling with housing. So I collected data in 2017. We found at that point that about 10% of the students at NC State had been homeless in the prior year. That got us thinking a lot about what needs to be done both on and off campus. And so HOST came out of that work. And it was an idea that came directly from college students. When we talked to them about what their needs were, what they would appreciate, what they wish they had access to, it was families in the community that would open their homes temporarily. The experience of college students struggling with housing is highly diverse. As you can imagine, each student has their own personal story, their own personal history, but there are some commonalities. One of them is financial struggles. It's expensive to go to college, it's expensive to live in Raleigh. Those two factors combined make a lot of our students vulnerable to homelessness. The other thing they have in common is they're working hard. Our students are doing all the right things by society standards. They're working 2 or 3 jobs.
I was going to say, that's a question. Most of them have multiple jobs,
Most
right?
of them have multiple jobs. They're more likely to take out loans than students not experiencing homelessness. They are getting what we used to think of as a full ride. So they're getting full scholarships. Full financial aid and scholarships does not cover all the expenses anymore like it did when I was in college.
Right.
Other things they have in common are high level of stress. It is highly distressing to not know where you're going to sleep at night. That interferes with their ability to study, to do group projects, to do any sort of extracurricular activities, because they're wondering where they can find a safe place to sleep. The other thing they have in common is an incredible drive to get that degree. Many come from families that struggle financially and they want to change their family's trajectory. They are also incredibly smart, incredibly bright students.
Oh, I'm sure.
You would have to be, right?
Yes, to overcome the challenges that they faced and to make it this far.
Right.
Only to run up with more difficulties around food insecurity, clothing. I mean, all the things that we take for granted.
That's right. That's a really good point, Mary, because oftentimes the students that are struggling with housing are also struggling with food and clothing and transportation and childcare and all the basic needs.
Right.
Another thing that surprises people oftentimes is that graduate students are actually at higher risk than undergrads. We have worked with students that you typically think of as the college kid, the 18 to 22. But we've also worked with older students. We've worked with students with families. We're serving the full range of students.
Well, I guess another question I think people have is they just assume if a college student is here, they have housing, they have a dorm, and it's free.
Right.
And people don't think about that the dorms close and they have nowhere to go. So how could host families assist with that?
In terms of the residence halls, two issues. One is that not all students can be accommodated on campus. For example, at NC State, we're able to house less than a third of our students. So that's 2/3 right off the top that residence halls are irrelevant for. The other issue with residence halls is, yes, on many campuses in our community, they close during breaks. NC State stays open now during the breaks, which is wonderful. If you're in a residence hall and it's closing during the break, you now have the option to stay there at a cost. But that extra cost is not covered in financial aid. I believe it's $25 a night to stay during breaks, which seems like a good deal, right? But that could be hundreds of dollars during the winter break that students don't have.
Yeah, it's at least a month.
That's right. So hosts can help students with those costs during breaks. Last winter break, we supported several students financially to stay in their dorms.
So obviously being in real estate, we help people find homes. So how can we help as a community? How can the people that we know help support hosts?
Yeah, there's so many ways to step up for these college students. Donations are always accepted. There's a donate button on our website. We now have the option for recurring donations. So we're excited about that.
Great.
Another way is to be a host. There's information on our website, and our program coordinator, Libby Stevens, is happy to talk with people who want to know more about hosting. But hosts can really set their own sort of rules and structure around that. So some hosts might say, I could do an occasional emergency weekend. Other people say, I can do a whole semester.
Oh, that's nice to have that flexibility.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming both sides are vetted.
That's right.
Really
That's
well.
right. There are very careful matching process where students and hosts first hear a little bit about each other, then they're able to meet each other. If both of those two steps go well, the student can go to the host home and get to know the host in their house. If that still goes well, there's a match.
Okay.
The students are helped while they're hosted. They're helped to make a plan to exit. So the host is not a permanent situation, it's temporary. The student gets a lot of support to develop a plan to exit the host home into safe, stable housing.
Right.
Hosts are supported by Libby. There is some training that they're able to go to get ready for the role.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Mary. I hope that by doing this, we can raise some awareness around this so that people realize that there are students in college that struggle with homelessness.
Thanks,
So
Mary.
thank you.
Thank you.